Hello, my most amazing artists. Welcome back. Today I have a very exciting project. It's one that we were going to do with our 5th grade students, but I'm opening it up to any students kindergarten to 5th grade. So any age can do this project, even though it's typically only a 5th grade project. So something that we were going to do before all of this coronavirus craziness was a collaboration with Seabreeze High School. Now, the Seabreeze High School creative writing class, which is mostly seniors, wrote poems with their creative writing class under the direction of their teacher, Mrs. Paul. Mrs. Paul was also my teacher and one of my very favorite and most influential teachers at Seabreeze High School. So I was very excited to collaborate with her for the 2nd year in a row to do this poem project. These poems were written by her students. They're children's poems. They each write a poem and the student will write a little autobiography about themselves after, and then they're compiled into a large document. Now usually I print those all out and students read through them on a poetry day, and we have a poetry reading and students pick the one that really stands out to them most. This time I have them online. So they're all in a Google Doc, and I'm going to attach the link both here and in your Canvas site on your assignments and on your Google site. So you can find the link there to all of the poems. There's so many different poems to choose from and so many students to read about too. I just didn't want the Seabreeze seniors' hard work to go to waste because they were really looking forward to getting to see your illustrations that go with the poems. So your job as the Osceola artist is to come up with an illustration to match with the high school student's poem. And then usually we would put them all in a book, but this time I'm going to put them all in a video slideshow so that we can pair them up that way. If you go on your Canvas page or the Osceola Specials Google site, you'll be able to find the directions for this assignment as well as a link to a Google Doc. If you click this link to the Google Doc, it's going to lead you to the list of all of the poems. Now this Google Doc is able to edit. Be reminded that I can see who edits the document. So make sure that if you make an edit, you're only doing that to claim a poem and write your name on it. You can absolutely read through the poems and then pick one. You can write illustrated by your name. Now when you turn these in, you're not going to turn them in on the Google Doc itself. I would suggest that you give it to me through Artsonia. You can also submit it through Canvas. So after you pick a poem and you read through a few and decide that's the one I want to go with, then all you need is basic supplies. Now you can create an illustration with anything you have. An illustration can come from something like clay, can come from found objects around your house. You can make an illustration from magazine cutouts and collage them. I'm going to create my illustration with just some basic supplies I have around. I'm just going to use paper, pencil, a marker, some crayons, and some colored markers. You can use anything though. Illustrations do not have to have any certain kind of supplies. Whatever you have to create would be awesome. I just am really hoping that we can have as many illustrators as possible from our school to help surprise these seniors so that they get to see their poems match with an illustration, kind of as a congratulations for graduating for them. But before we get started, we always start out with our art mantra to remind us of how awesome of artists we are. My mantra: I am positive, I am creative, I am mindful, I am amazing, I am an artist. Let's get started.
If you are interested and want to participate, you will find more information on your Canvas as well as Google site. There will be a link to a Google Doc that has all of the poems compiled. These were all written by the Seabreeze creative writing students, and there's even a little bit of a biography after their poem, telling a little bit about them and including a photo. So you can read through these as many as you want, and when you find one that you like or understand and it really speaks to you, then you'll be able to write illustrated by and your name and class code. Now, it would be nice if we just have one illustrator per poem. That way we have a variety and as many poems illustrated as possible. Now, an illustrator is someone who does the pictures or tells the story visually. So those students have already written the words. Now it's your job to take those words and turn them into a picture. So I read my poem. My poem was called My Own World by Amy. And then I wrote illustrated by Miss Q and class code so other people know that I'm going to do that illustration. And so other people don't do it too. It reads, I got a coloring book. It was shiny and new. So I took my dull crayons and I scribbled and drew. I had colored 2 pages when my blue crayon broke. I blamed it all on Crayola. Was this some sort of joke? My My skies became purple, so my grass became red, and I saw a new picture of what lied ahead. So I made my own world, and I filled it with colors, a world of no rules, away from all others. You can find me there among the pink trees. Sit for a while, and we'll talk to the bees. Now that I've read the poem, I started to decode it in my mind, thinking about what I was imagining as I read those words, trying to figure out what that poem means, because usually poems have some kind of underlying meaning or a moral lesson that is to be learned. And in this case, I think it was that she shouldn't have been upset about her blue crayon breaking, because it really turned out to be a great thing, and she had a very colorful world that was full of creativity and imagination. So I drew the things that really stuck out to me that happened in that poem. The first action that happened was the blue crayon broke while she was coloring in her coloring book. So I decided to draw that blue crayon breaking right in the middle of the paper. I want my picture or my illustration to be able to tell as much as possible and pack in as much as happened in the poem into just one picture. An illustrator is a very difficult but amazing job. When you read a book, it's awesome to see the pictures, because sometimes you can even just look at the pictures and not read the words. It always gives you a clue to what the story is about. Of course, in combination, the two, the words and the pictures, is what really gives you the big idea of it. But illustrations are so important, and it's an awesome artist job. So after I did it with pencil, I'm outlining with a marker, and then I'll go ahead and add my color. I just really want to make sure I include as many elements of the poem as possible. So if she talked about there being bees in there, I want to make sure to draw those. I drew the trees a little bit different than they said in the poem. Not that she said any details about the trees, but I imagined these being very dreamy trees and a little bit different than usual. So I decided to draw the trunks a little wavy, and everything can be a little bit imaginary here. It doesn't have to be realistic, because in this world, it said it was a colorful world full of her imagination. So it can be however you interpret that poem, but make sure you do read the poem first and kind of think about a couple key words that you could draw. If you read a poem and you notice some of those words and you think, I could draw that, then you could probably be a great illustrator to that poem. Another way that you can pick a poem is if you see a subject that you love. Say the poem is about a sport or about your favorite game, or you just really, really like some of the things it's talking about. That would be a great inspiration for you to create a drawing from. Now, this is a little tricky because it's nothing that you can look up online. It's also not something that you can just copy from watching my video. You will have to put on your artist thinking cap and use your imagination. You're going to need to decode that poem and become an art detective to think of different ways that you could show what they're saying in the words of the poem in a picture. So I was able to include some of the poem by coloring the grass as red and pink, and the trees as bright pink, and the sky as purple, because she lost her blue crayon and didn't have that blue to color in for her picture. So I tried to use as many colors except for blue as possible. When I'm done, I'm going to write the title of the poem on my illustration, as well as the author of the poem and my own name. I just became an illustrator to this poem. I cannot wait to see who takes on this challenge, earns some house points and some extra credit, and creates an awesome graduation gift for these high school seniors. I can't wait to see which poems you choose and the illustrations you come up with. All right, illustrators, let's get started. Get those artist thinking caps on, and make sure you click that Google Doc link that's going to be at the bottom of this YouTube video in the caption, as well as your Canvas and Google site. All right, artists, get creating. Here's some examples from last year's collaboration when we were in art class to inspire you of some different ideas. These artists created pop-ups, but you can do any style of art you want to make your illustration. Have fun.